Hello everyone, and welcome to another update here on First Drop. We'll probably have two this February as the news is coming hard and fast and it's hard to even keep up with it. But boy, we got a lot to talk about already, and it's still several months, or at least a few months, away from the start of at least the seasonal park season here in Southern Ontario and Western New York. But exciting news after the tragedy of the Conneaut Lake loss of Blue Streak. We have a new roller coaster moving in not too far away at a Niagara Amusement Park. Just broke by friend of the channel WNY Coasters, the Schwarzkopf Shuttle Loop Coaster, formerly known as Laser Loop at Kennywood, that then made it down to La Feria Chapultepec in Mexico, has long been rumored moving back up north to Niagara Amusement Park, where Gene Staples has indeed purchased the ride and is now installing it at Niagara Amusement Park for its second major new attraction. If only Fantasy Island in its heyday had as much ambition as this owner has now. There's also been news that has been recently revealed. Other rides will be moving into the park as promised, so it definitely looks from the evidence that this park will be opening this summer with a substantial ride offering as opposed to just having Silver Comet on site and water slides. Speaking of water slides, despite not being able to see any evidence of it, I do anticipate a fair amount of investiture into the water park itself, as there still is a substantial amount of land in that section of the park for them to build upon. Overall exciting news regardless, as this shuttle loop is a well-loved coaster by enthusiasts. It's a classic ride, and Gene Staples is doing his best to prolong these Schwarzkopf models for many generations to come, which can only be celebrated by us enthusiasts and thrill goers around the world. While the exciting news has come down for one roller coaster that's been resurrected, sadly it's not the case for another at Ronde, where their much delayed coaster, the Zackspin Vipere, relocated from Magic Mountain, formerly known as Green Lantern, has now been canceled by the park, announced with the park's opening dates for the 2022 season. It appears that Ronde wants to get this thorn in its side out of the way, hopefully for investiture in the future. This being because with the removal of Super Manège, the aerodynamics corkscrew coaster that still was relatively popular amongst guests, there is a large space of land where a substantial attraction should and will have to go at some point in the future if this park is to have a future. Now with Manège gone and with Vipere not coming either, Ronde is really struggling for another big attraction to bring in new crowds and entice people from further regions to visit the park. What could possibly be going on? It's anyone's guess. We can only hope that the funds that were originally allotted for the construction of that ride are now going to a much bigger, possibly new roller coaster addition. The fate of the Zackspin, however, has not been decided, despite the fact that it was repainted, possibly refabricated. That being said, Six Flags does have a history of selling attractions to other parks, and one can only hope that maybe this ride will end up at a park that could use it a lot more than, say, Ronde. Immediately comes to mind, at least in the Canadian side of the border, would be Callaway Park, which it could certainly use this ride and bring in a lot more thrill goers in its local region. By far the biggest news to come down the wire in the last 2 weeks has been the potential sale of Cedar Fair to SeaWorld Parks. And there has been no shortage of channels discussing this issue in relation to the many parks in the Cedar Fair chain that could potentially be completely rebranded and have a completely different aesthetic attached to them after SeaWorld Busch Gardens takes over. This channel, personally, based on its own experiences in Orlando recently at SeaWorld and Busch Gardens, has to be completely honest in relation to our recent experiences as well at Canada's Wonderland. The customer service at SeaWorld and Busch Gardens was excellent. While there is a bit of a relaxed attitude amongst the employees there, they are still focused and vibrant, full of energy, and do look like they're enjoying their time while working in the park. The same cannot be said about Canada's Wonderland, and unfortunately in the past season, there have been many incidents from food service relations to customer service relations to just general security concerns, especially during Halloween haunt, that Wonderland definitely seems to be struggling with as of late. There's been no shortage of employees within the park, but it just seems as if there is not enough focus of giving that extra step of customer appreciation that was felt at the SeaWorld parks personally by myself, and I can only hope that if this takeover does happen, that may be able to alleviate that concern. Another reason why I wouldn't mind seeing this sale go through is that we must not forget that Cedar Fair has been quite a hindrance to Canada's Wonderland's development after the installation of Leviathan. While there's no question that the addition of that coaster and Behemoth was crucial to the park's current success, Yukon Striker, we cannot forget, was delayed 3 years by Cedar Point so they could open Valravn instead. And as of the time being, you're looking at an entire 10-year cycle of which Canada's Wonderland has only had one major roller coaster attraction in that time. If you look at previous decades in the park, of which this channel has, definitely check out our videos on the history of Canada's Wonderland. There has been no other period in the history of the park that has been as bereft of major coaster additions than the current one it's in now. Now, the pandemic obviously had an effect on that, and also Canada's Wonderland's inability to open at a full capacity or near at least 50% capacity in the past season, and not being able to open at all in 2020 may have had a major economic effect on Cedar Fair overall. The rumors are swirling. Nobody really knows the truth of the matter quite yet, although we may hear some word very soon about Cedar Fair's perusal of this offer. Most naysayers are quick to point out that a similar offer had been proposed by Six Flags only in 2019 for $4 billion for the park, far in excess of the 3.4, 3.2 that's being offered now. However, it may be that it will take quite some time for Cedar Fair's stock value to rise again to the point of which it was in 2018 in order to justify such a valuation again. In Niagara Falls, First Drop has discovered that the planned opening date for the new Carnival Chaos 4D motion simulator ride is scheduled for early June, or at least is hoped, as per a communication from the Clifton Hill group. This is an exciting new attraction from Triotech that got announced at IAAPA in Orlando this past fall and is the first of its kind in North America and the world from Triotech. Very similar to the Spider-Man attraction opening at Disneyland parks, this compact simulation ride should be a great addition to the Clifton Hill area, which has shown the most interest in opening new attractions in Canada than at other amusement areas in the country. It is not all good news to report from the Clifton Hill group and area, however, as local businessman and chief figurehead in the Clifton Hill amusement area, Charlie Berlin, has unfortunately passed away from cancer at the early age of 54. The Berlin family had long been involved in the history and development of Clifton Hill and its amusement offering over the last 100 years, and the loss of Mr. Berlin is a major dent in the overall landscape of the Clifton Hill and Niagara amusement area overall. The channel wishes to offer its condolences to the Berlin family for the loss of Mr. Berlin recently, and wishes to pay their respects for all that Mr. Berlin has brought to the area in the last few decades. That is all for news for this February, at least for the early part, here on First Drop. Look forward to more news at the end of the month, as we are sure there'll be more coming down the wire in a short matter of time. And as always, enjoy.